Hi, this is Jay Sekulow at the American Center for Law and Justice. I've just gotten off the air. I'm here in our radio studios, but I wanted to bring you this very important update. I have just authorized and established today sending our teams to New York, to the United Nations. Here's what's happening. We're sending lawyers from our Washington, D.C. office, our government affairs office as well as our New York City office, which, by the way, is just a couple of blocks from the United Nations. We're going there because the UN is going to be considering a resolution from an organization called the OIC. That's the Organization of the Islamic Conference. They are the largest group inside of the UN. They represent over 47 countries, all of them Islamic. They are trying to criminalize anyone who speaks out against Islam. In other words, by, quote, defaming Islam, if you say Jesus is the way of salvation, that would be deemed an act of defamation. And what they're trying to do is get a UN resolution that says that speaking out against Islam would be a violation of international law. In effect, this would be criminalizing the proclamation of the gospel. Now, we've got a full team that is going to be in New York this entire week. We will be broadcasting also from New York, getting reports in from our New York City staff. We'll be coming to you live from both Washington and New York. You're going to want to watch the broadcasts on television as well. We've got a special that we put together on the Organization of the Islamic Conference. As I said, we'll be covering it all week on radio, and you're not going to want to miss it. But I need you to do something for us. Stand with us. Go to aclj.org. We've got a petition going to the United Nations saying no to this effort by the Organization of the Islamic Conference. We need to take a stand for freedom internationally here. We need everybody's help. Again, aclj.org. Listen to the radio broadcast this week. Stay in tune for television on the weekend, a major development there that we've been talking about, the OIC, and live reports from New York City. This is Jay Sekulow from the American Center for Law and Justice. We'll keep you updated this week.
Thanks for joining us for CBN News Tonight. I'm Mark Martin. A controversial American Muslim group is facing new charges of ties to Islamic terrorism. The Council on American-Islamic Relations, or CAIR, claims to be a peaceful Muslim civil rights organization, but a group of Republican lawmakers says CAIR has a dangerous agenda. Eric Stakelbeck has more from Capitol Hill.
For years, critics of the Council on American-Islamic Relations have accused the Muslim lobbying group of having ties to terrorism. Now CAIR may be facing its most serious charges yet. Republican Representatives Sue Myrick, John Shadegg, Trent Franks, and Paul Brown held a press conference here on Capitol Hill calling for the Department of Justice to conduct a formal investigation into CAIR's activities. They cite this new book, Muslim Mafia, by the investigative journalist Paul Sperry, as providing conclusive documentation that CAIR has ties to radical Islamists. Now, that includes a 2007 CAIR strategic memo showing that the group is seeking greater influence on Capitol Hill. The memo reads, "We will focus on influencing congressmen responsible for policy that directly impacts the American Muslim community. For example, congressmen on the Judiciary, Intelligence, and Homeland Security committees. Will develop national is a lobby day and placing Muslim interns in congressional offices." It's initiatives like that by CAIR that have Congresswoman Sue Myrick concerned.
Are my colleagues in the House aware this organization is trying to place interns in their offices? And if not, why not?
Now, Myrick and the other representatives want a few things. Number one, they want the Department of Justice to explain why CAIR was named as an unindicted co-conspirator in a federal terrorism trial in 2007. In that trial, the defendants were convicted of funneling money to the terrorist group Hamas. Number two, they want the Department of Justice to investigate whether CAIR has been successful in its strategic plan to infiltrate congressional offices interns. And number three, they want the IRS to investigate CAIR's nonprofit status.
And so I guess I would just call with my colleagues here for CAIR to renounce Hamas, for them to renounce all terrorist notions, and them to recognize Israel's right to exist, and to come out in the open and tell us what they really stand for.
Now, the Department of Justice has yet to respond to the request for an investigation, and CAIR thus far has no comment. Eric Stakelbeck, CBN News, Capitol Hill.
And for more on CAIR, senior international correspondent Dale Hurd joins us now. Welcome, Dale.
Thank you.
What do you think about these new charges against CAIR?
They're very bold. The first thing I thought when the book landed on my desk today was, these guys are going to get sued. CAIR has been big on litigating against their critics. And very bold charges. I was surprised at what they were able to dig out. It turns out they had an intern inside CAIR to pull some of this stuff out. It was interesting.
Well, give us a little background on the organization for those who are not familiar with it. Give us a little history and why are they so controversial?
Well, one of the founders of CAIR was caught telling a small-town newspaper, he was speaking to a banquet, and he said the purpose of Islam in America was to be supreme over all other religion. The purpose of Islam in America was to be supreme over all other religion. The purpose of Islam in America was to be supreme over all other religions. And he was one of the founders of CAIR, one of the early board members. And people feel that this is CAIR's hidden agenda. CAIR bills itself as sort of a Muslim ACLU, and I'm on their mailing list, and you're always hearing about these grievances of Muslim groups that are discriminated against. Never anyone else, only Muslims. And you never hear from CAIR usually when there's a Muslim terrorist attack. So it's always Muslims are the victim. And sort of the consensus of their critics is that CAIR is fighting for a special place for Islam in America.
Well, do you think that CAIR should be investigated?
Yeah, it should, and it has been, and there need to be new investigations. I would like to challenge the viewers to Google CAIR, C-A-I-R. About the 6th entry will be a group called Anti-CAIR, and this group was sued by CAIR because some of the allegations on their site. They're amazing allegations, and CAIR was not able to win their libel suit against this. The claims include supporting terrorism, being founded by members of Hamas, wanting to change the U.S. into basically a Muslim government, Very interesting. I'd encourage people to check that out.
Okay. Dale Hurd, thanks so much. The terrorist suspect accused of plotting an attack on New York had some high-level contacts with al-Qaeda. Intelligence officials say Naji Boulazazi was contacted by the terrorist group's leader in Afghanistan. That leader is believed to be one of Osama bin Laden's confidants. Authorities say al-Qaeda recruited Zazi to detonate homemade backpack bombs in New York's transit system on the anniversary of 9/11. Now to the